All right, and I do believe that we are live, baby. Welcome everybody to the stream tonight. I am pretty excited to take you on this freaking. Oh my gosh, I clicked the wrong button. Forgive me. I'm pretty excited to bring you all on this.
We have to
journey.
stop
Oh,
him.
no,
Ready?
sound, stop it. I'm excited to bring everyone on this journey where we are going to be learning everything there is to learn about the Blood Angels and how we're playing into the entire freaking meta. So we're gonna see how we're gonna be playing our army into every army in the entire freaking game. We're gonna go through Sisters of Battle. We're gonna go through 1,000 Suns. We're gonna go through Tyranids and everyone else. And it's really important to understand something fundamental as we go through this. What you're going to understand is that there's a certain thing that this army, the Blood Angels, do. And this will be true for every army in the game. You're going to have a certain thing that your army does, and it's going to do that thing against every other army in the entire game. Like, it doesn't really make much of a difference most of the time. Whatever your army does, it's going to do that into basically everyone. I'm going to kind of reinforce this point. The exceptions are going to be the really, really, really bad matchups you have, because in those matchups, you can't do what your army is actually meant to do. So as I break this down, feel free to hop in with questions, interjections, and all those things. And if you guys think I'm going to neglect agents, you better believe I will. I might bring them up here, actually, but I also might talk crap about them because honestly, it's kind of funny to watch people suffer with that not real army. But anyway, let's just get into it. I'm going to break down the strengths that the Blood Angels have into these armies. I'll break down weaknesses, and I'm going to rate every army being like, hey, how good is this matchup for the Blood Angels? So that's what we're going to do. We've got 5 different ratings. We've got, damn, I hate this, and that is going to be the absolute worst matchups, of which there are some matchups where Blood Angels are just kind of screwed right now. There are a few of them, which is why you're not seeing Blood Angels really winning GTs. I'm not sure, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I might still be the only person who's won a GT with Blood Angels since all the changes. I might actually be the only person who's done it so far. If someone has done it in the last few weeks, I didn't see it. But even with all the points cuts, there's a reason for that, because we have some top dogs who are very challenging for Blood Angels. Category yellow will be oof. That's going to be a tough match, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily an awful match. It's just a hard matchup. And there's going to be surprisingly few armies in that category. Then we're going to have Bangin' Let's Rock. That's going to be, okay, this is just a good match. Blood Angels we're ready to rock and roll into it. We're going to have Aha, I Crush. This is the matchup that I absolutely crush. And then we're going to have And You're Gone. So if you guys know South Park, you understand the meme. Basically, it's just going to say these are the matchups that you're just going to crush and people have basically no chance in. So let's get on into it. I'm going to kick it off with 1,000 Suns. Actually, right before we do it, let me just see. We have Seal Pilled. Seal Pilled, are you a fan of Seal? Because if you are, you're a legend. Seal was a Chad. He said he asked for this specific for Blood Angel Commander. Dude, I actually like Blood Angel Commander. I just found out about him a few weeks ago. I like his stuff. So I think he does a really good job of like mathematical breakdown. So like shout out to that guy, because I think he does some good things. So give him some love if you guys don't know about him. Anyway, let's get into this. 1,000 Suns. All right. So let's define 1,000 Suns, because there are a few different ways to run them. The reality is the vast majority of 1,000 Suns lists that you're going to see are going to be the Cabal, which is like, or Grand Coven, sorry. That's the one where you can give full rerolls to hit and wound to Magnus. You can give extra range on him. It's basically the index detachment with the change that they don't have access to indirect anymore. That's more or less what it is. And this is going to be the like 80 to 90% of all T-Suns you're going to see. And then you're also going to see some of the things like, you'll see a few, whatever the mutant detachment is called. I think that's Warp Meld Pact, and that's where they can get -1 to wound on all of their models. That detachment is kind of completely dead now, seeing as the -1 to wound won't apply to the Mutilated Vortex Beast or even the Chaos Spawn anymore. Hopefully they actually reverse that, because it was actually a very interesting detachment. So all the other detachment that you might really be seeing right now is the Rubricate detachment. The Rubricate detachment, which is going to be giving +1 to armor save against damage 1 attacks to Rubrics and Scarab Occult Terminators, and you can actually give those units Infiltrate, which is really cool. So that's actually another pretty cool detachment. But basically, here's the deal about T-Suns, and here's the problem that T-Suns have. T-Suns have overwhelming damage output. They can kill anything in Blood Angels detachment by sneezing at it. Like, any bodily fluid, a little cough, a little sneeze. If you're changing a 7-year-old's diaper or a 7-month-old's diaper, you know, a little splitter splat here or there, any of those bodily fluids will obliterate anything in the Blood Angels army. But the problem is that T-Sons lack the ability to initiate. They lack the ability to initiate. They are generally so the strongest counter to T-Sons is an army that can just kind of stand behind a wall and then go out when they want to go out. The way T-Sons get around this will be spamming their Mutalith Vortex Beasts, which are unnaturally durable for their points cost. But when you have an army such as Blood Angels have to be really careful because they're going to die on to T-Sons Overwatch. They're going to die to T-Sons whenever they get clear line of sights. But if you can just stand behind a wall and then move 12 inches or 9 inches with your foot soldiers or 19 inches if you're Dante and then charge in, you're going to kill whatever you touch and then you're going to spread out and you're going to tag absolutely everything you can because T-Sons do not have access to fall back and shoot. That is a brutal problem for them, and that is why Blood Angels actually have quite a good matchup into T-Sons. This is not to say that T-Sons are not a good army. T-Sons are extremely good right now. But on the rate of matchups that Blood Angels have, we actually have very good play into Thousand Sons. And it is because of this concept that the Thousand Sons are going to have a very, very hard time initiating the combat. And not many armies really suffer from that problem, but T-Sons really have no one to charge with, and they don't have any indirect anymore. So they're kind of reliant on the one Umbralific Crystal unit to be able to teleport and get in position. If you just screen that, it's like, well, and we got access to Infiltrators. They just can't initiate the combat, which means Blood Angels will always initiate, which means we get to punch first, and that's a very good thing for Blood Angels. So play the matchup quite a bunch. I know for a fact that there are some people who say that no, T-Sons actually beat Blood Angels. I will make the argument and let you guys know that those are generally going to be people who are not using the full Blood Angel range. The second you add in like Ball Predators who can run in, obliterate a unit, Overwatch the rubrics when they come out, Ball Predators cause massive trouble for T-Sons. And then you combine that with your crazy fast and hard hitting jump pack infantry, then you're gonna be right in the money. All right, so that's T-Sons. By the way, if you guys disagree with me, I want to hear about it. Also, if you hear about me, if you do agree with me, I like having my ego stroked, so you can do that as well. Anyway, so and if you guys have any questions while we're going along, feel free to type it into the chat. If I see it, I'm happy to address that. All right, so Adeptus Mechanicus is going to be the number 2. It's going to be the next one we're talking about today. Adeptus Mechanicus. Most people have a warped view of what the AdMech army does. The AdMech army is significantly better than what most people think it is. The problem with AdMech is that AdMech does not play the way that most AdMech players want to play AdMech, right? AdMech players want to be able to run robots and things that can just go and blast and blast and blast. But if you're playing AdMech appropriately, what you're going to see is you're going to see crazy move blocking, crazy speed, insane OC and OC manipulation. They're going to win on primary. They're going to deny your primary. They're going to get every single secondary. A lot of times they can even deny secondaries. They're going to have extremely fast, hard, and reasonably hard-hitting melee units. These will be things like Ruststalkers. Ruststalkers in the Halo Screed Battleclade, gosh, that's a mouthful, will actually get out of a transport. They're going to go like 14 inches and then advance, and I think they can get +2 to their advance roll and then +2 to their charge roll. So those guys will go through with 50 attacks that all have precision and devastating wounds on it. They're going to go in and just hurt something bad. So AdMech has a lot of really, really, really cool tricks that most people don't really know about. The problem AdMech faces in relation to the Blood Angels is very simple. Everything in the Blood Angels army will one-tap everything in the AdMech army. And that is a huge, huge issue for AdMech. It also limits all of their melee. So if they are running those Ruststalkers that I talked about, because we've got these special characters, the Sanguinius, which I know a lot of people don't like the Sanguinius. You're all wrong for not liking the Sanguinius. This dude will just come down. He will screw up all the pylons. So instead of your tank or your Sangard or whoever getting punched by 50 attacks that have devastating wounds on them, actually you're probably only going to get hit by 15 because the Sanguinius is not only going to kill several of them, the Sanguinius is also going to screw up their pylons. And since they have these huge bases, they're going to have to end up piling in towards the closest enemy model, which would be the Sanguinius in this scenario for a huge portion of them. And then they're not even going to be able to attack their original charge target. So the Blood Angels can interrupt their very fast hitting melee. We have access to such fast units that we don't have to ever really stand out in the open so that we can, once again, initiate all of that movement because we have the 12-inch move with the advanced charge. I can't tell you the amount of times I roll a 6 on Dante's Advance and just move 19 inches. We also have the ability to blunt a lot of their shooting because we throw out, once again, a ball predator. And a ball predator gets to advance. He shoots. He can even charge and tank shock if you really want to figure, if you really need to finish something off. And then he can be sitting there for a huge overwatch in the opponent's face. So, Blood Angels have all the tools necessary to deal with AdMech's massive OC bombs and all of their massive move blocking, because we can overwatch them, we can fly over them. So AdMech really is going to struggle quite a bit into Blood Angels. That doesn't mean that you can play them with reckless abandon, whatever. That doesn't mean you can play recklessly, because if they get like breachers to overwatch you, they can really ruin your day. Beer break. But yeah, so AdMech is actually a really, really good matchup for the Blood Angels in general. And we'll leave it at that. Real quick, we got a super chat in the house from Mr. Joshua Stone, also known as Warlord Gort in the Discord. Warlord Gort, blessings upon you and your family, dear sir. I appreciate you so much for your support. These super chats mean the world to me. I'm glad you guys like the content and the value that I am doing everything I can to bring you guys on the regular. All right, so that's AdMech. So let's talk about Eldar. Now, Eldar are one of the trickiest armies in the game to really get a good grasp of. What I have found, once you identify the way that Eldar has to play the game, you're in the money for it. Now, once again, I'm going to talk about a unit that I feel like so many people just overlook. The Ball Predator is such a big deal in your matchup against the Eldar. With your rerolling advances, you have the threat range of moving up to 18, and then having an 18-inch super flamer, and then 12 inches on the mini flamers. So you can be shooting 30 inches with your 2 heavy flamers. You'll obliterate whatever you shoot in the army. Then you're in position to overwatch whatever moves. Now, with Eldar in particular, they have the ability to turn off overwatch on a unit. So if they want to, say, bring out a unit of fire dragons to shoot, they can turn that overwatch off. But they can only turn Overwatch off on one unit. So what I have found is the best strategy when I'm playing against Eldar is I just throw my Ball Predator out there. My Ball Predator will Overwatch the first thing that moves. It doesn't have to be something valuable. It doesn't have to be something good. Against Eldar in particular, I don't care if I'm just Overwatching and killing his Rangers. That's fine. No problem. And then he gets to move his Fire Dragons out. He'll kill me. But I guarantee you I'm going to deplete all of his small units. Once you deplete all of his trash units, it doesn't matter that he has a 10-man squad of fire dragons that get to come out, shoot, do a reactive move back into transport. That doesn't matter anymore because you have destroyed all of his ability to score. Eldar players cannot score primary to save their lives because they're Eldar players. A unit of jump pack assault intercessors can go into a unit with an Exarch, kill the entire squad, and kill the Exarch. We have such an ability to punch up so hard, it's such a big problem for the Eldar. Where you will get into trouble against Eldar is if you play their game. So here is the Eldar's game, okay? What they want to do is they want to position themselves where they're going to come out and they're going to take a little bite out of you. They're going to kill one of your units. And you know what? Also, I'm going to shoot a few Bright Lancers and I'm also going to kill this tank. But that's it. And then in the next turn, they're going to do it again. And then in the next turn, they're going to do it again. The thing that Eldar can't handle is when you get 2,000 points of your army into their entire army in one turn. Once again, our Sanguinius is coming in huge clutch here, because typically a lot of the ways that Eldar players will control melee armies is when melee armies are pushing up and they're trying to take these little bite-sized chunks out of them one at a time, but they'll charge in the Howling Banshees to go obliterate whatever the elite infantry squad is. Well, and now I have a Sanguinius who just comes down and eliminates your squad. It doesn't matter. You don't get to have fun. You don't get to play the game. So Blood Angels have the hyper-aggressive Ball Predator, which I think is one of the best units in the entire game. The Sanguinius, which completely screws all MSU units up, and any melee that Eldar ever wants to push out will be MSU, so you don't have to worry about that. He will just obliterate elf bodies. He comes down hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s, devastating wounds. I think he dropped like 4 Howling Banshees, which is pretty freaking great. And then he once again screws up pylons, etc., stuff like that. So you have all the tools you need to actually beat Eldar. I will say Warhost for Eldar is very strong right now. They've got all these reactive moves. They can get out of a transport, hop back in the transport. You can't allow them to control the board space. You actually have to put the pressure onto them, but you can't give them 3 turns of depleting your resources. You have to hit them really, 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 really hard and then not allow them to play this game where they get to kill 1 unit a turn, 1 unit a turn, 1 unit a turn. Force them to play a game where they have to do a slugfest. They will lose it every single time. So I have found that Blood Angels have a good game plan into Eldar. It's not crazy. Eldar can beat us as well, but I think we have a good, solid game plan into them. It is banging. Let's rock. We're going to have a good freaking game. All right. Next one. We have the Imperial Agents for you fiends out there. Who was asking for it? Was it Cartilage UK? You beautiful, beautiful man. You want to know about the Imperial Agents? Here's the deal, guys. Imperial Agents aren't a real army, and Blood Angels run through them. It's sad, but it's true. The best thing about the Imperial Agents is going to be their assassins. And guess what? Blood Angels can bring their assassins. That's fine. Man, I couldn't imagine, like, this. All right, I am a little bit speaking out of my butt here. I'm going to be completely honest. I have not tested Blood Angels into Imperial Agents. All right, so listen, if there's some wild statistic, wild, like, distribution that's happened somewhere, I will plead ignorance, and I'm just talking out of my butt on this one. I, for the life of me, cannot figure out a single reason why there would be any trouble beating Imperial Agents with Blood Angels. I know there is a saucy little build that some people are kind of like hanging their hat on right now, where you're just taking 30 Deathwatch Marines, all led by Watchmasters. And it's actually kind of cool, because I'm pretty sure you can like infiltrate them all, and then they all have access to advanced shoot and charge. Even that though, man, you're just gonna run straight through it. Like you'll run straight through that. They don't have access to fight on death. Like, I mean, you're just gonna screw that up so bad. So that is just like a booyah. And sadly, I think it's gonna be that way for most armies. Proxy Hammer, hey bro, nice to see you, man. Yeah, dude, I agree. I love playing the Eldar matchup with Blood Angels. I think it's super fun. All right, next one. We're gonna talk about one of the big boys, and this is the Chaos Knights. Now, Chaos Knights, these guys are going into the oof category. And it's possible they go into the damn I hate this category. Let me explain this a little bit. Chaos Knights have the problem that some of your big blobs should be able to pick up a Chaos Knight. But if they don't, you kind of just auto lose the game. Most of these Infernal Lance, or not Infernal Lance, sorry, Malefic, well, the one with the Malefic Surges, I think that might be Infernal Lance. This is the army where they basically get Dark Pacts, but they can give themselves sustained hits or +3 to move. If you guys haven't felt the pain of 11-inch moving big knights, or, you know, a Rampager that moves 15 inches casually, that those things are fast. But a Despoiler that can move 11 inches, walk straight through terrain, has towering, has 36 shots with strength 6, AP2, damage 2, potentially ignoring cover, and sustained hits. It's so much, and it's really, really, really hard for you to hide from it on pretty much every single map. It causes massive, massive problems, and the problem with Chaos Knights is that you have to kill them now. When they come out, if they expose themselves, you have to deal with them then and there. If mathematically it swings down slightly or swings up slightly in their favor and you fail, the game's kind of over. Now, this is not a foregone you're going to lose the match. It's just a very, very hard match to play. One of the strongest builds out there, where we're looking at either triple Tyrant or we're looking at triple Abominants in Lords of Dread. That's a big problem. In Lords of Dread, they can just sticky OC5, which means if I want to Deep Strike, if I want to rapid ingress the Sanguinor onto an objective to score primary, it won't work because I can't unsticky it with him. That's a strategy I use all the time, especially in matchups where I don't necessarily need the Sanguinor to be interrupting into combat. I will actually I will rapid ingress him onto an objective in no man's land or in my opponent's deployment zone, just so that he can score me primary in the next turns. And since he's going to be outside of 12, no one can shoot him. It's a very reliable way to get a sneaky primary score in there. Completely doesn't work against Chaos Knights. I can't even do it with a unit of JPI who have OC5 because I would have to have OC6 onto that objective in order to take it off of them. So it becomes very, very challenging in that Lords of Dread matchup. If they're doing the triple Abominants, all 3 Abominants will come forward at once, and they're all going to be trying to proc this aura of mortal wounds. It's going to force you to go into them and try to pick them up in a turn. And if you fail, everything's going to push out and they're going to pick you up. So the problem with Chaos Knights is that they really force you into this stat check style game that if the math, even if the math is slightly in your favor, if it just goes slightly down, you're completely screwed and you've got no way to recover. Whereas Chaos Knights, let's say the math goes slightly against their favor, they still have the way to swing back into the game. So it's a very hard matchup. It's tough. I don't want it, but it is playable. So that's why I'm going to put in the yellow for the oof. That is a tough one. Have you guys had a lot of experiences in Chaos Knights? Because I feel like a lot of people haven't haven't gotten to play into them, and they're just. I hear people saying things about Chaos Knights where they're saying, "Oh, they're just not that good," blah 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 blah. I'm like, you guys have a different opinion than I do. I just find myself not agreeing with those guys like a lot. All right, Chaos Space Marines. Chaos Space Marines are actually in a really, really cool place right now. They've got a bunches of different ways they can play them. They can play them in Renegade Raiders, which I still think is probably about the best way to play them. They can play them in Cult of Bile, which I know people love. They can play them in... Actually, that new detachment looks kind of interesting. I haven't seen anyone play it, but the new detachment actually seems pretty interesting. Anyway, so Chaos Space Marines have a bunch of wings. The thing about Chaos Space Marines is they are the most damaging army in the game. Just like raw, how much damage output can they put in? They deal crazy damage. They actually, a lot of times, if you're building like the Abaddon Castle with the full rerolls to hit Forge Fiend, who is next to a Hellbrute, so he's getting both lethal and sustained and devastating wounds with full rerolls to hit. It's actually like the most freaking damage output of anything in the game. It makes T-Sons look kind of wimpy, but they also have initiators. Now, Blood Angels are better at initiating still. And since we can wound more or less everything in the army on 2s with our uses of our strats, we get to hit the hard thing real hard. And a lot of these armies that you're seeing, like these Cult of Bile armies that are spamming like 30 possessed, it's all at AP 1, which means when they charge in, once again, Sanguinor comes down, or you heroic Mephiston, or even in a clutch. What you can do is you can set up these heroics for like your JPI, where you can screw up their pile-ins. You pop Armor of Contempt on Sanguinary Guard. You have a 2-up armor save, so even if they are activating their devastating wounds, because of the way that you mess up with their pile-ins, you put them in a position where they're not going to be able to focus their attacks the way they want to because they have these pretty big bases. So it becomes very, very challenging for them. I have found that into Chaos Space Marines, I generally have a good matchup. I have noticed for sure that when I run into triple ACDC, that is a problem because we do not have the damage output to push straight through those ACDC bricks. What you have to do is you're almost required to double activate into them. So you have to send in Mephiston and Sanguinary Guard, or Mephiston and Blade Guard Vets. When you do this, Mephiston would go in, and he's going to precision out the Dark Commune to get rid of the invuln. Once you do that, then the Blade Guard Vets can pick up the ACDC squad. Or you could do like Sanguinor and Dante with the Sangard. Or Sanguinor and then a captain with Death Company, right? So any of these combinations will work, but it requires a double activation. And we're going to talk about that double activation later again when we get to something like, evil Nazi robots, Nekrons. But yeah, so they do force those types of activations. So if you're running into those triple ACDC, it does get significantly more challenging just because of the raw stat check provided. But once again, because of our speed and how hard we can hit, and the incredible board control we have in the form of the amazing scouts, which are still probably one of the best data sheets in the entire game. And don't forget, don't sleep on how anti-infantry scouts are in Liberated Assault Group. If you're playing Liberated Assault Group, scouts are anti-infantry, like straight up. You got 21 attacks at Strength 6, AP 1, Damage 1 that can hit something turn 1. That's disgusting. That's a lot of trauma, and you can be at +1 to wound if you want to. It's a lot. So between our Ball Predators, between our extremely powerful lone op characters, and our unbelievably fast board controlling Dante squad, we actually have a great gameplay into basically every form of Chaos Space Marines out there. Once again, it can get a little tricky, though. If they start rocking things like, an Allied Knight and stuff, then they can trip the heat. But I found that into Chaos Space Marines, we tend to have quite a good game. So I'm going to go, aha, I crush. Now, Adeptus Custodes. I am uncertain where to put Adeptus Custodes because I have found that I play extremely well into Adeptus Custodes with Blood Angels, but I suspect part of that is due to the fact that I am a Custodes specialist, and I understand exactly how to counter the Custodes. So I'm not going to be saying that we have a great game plan into Custodes. I think I'm going to put it into this is just like a good, hey, we've got a banging game, let's play. Now, when you're dealing with someone like the Adeptus Custodes, what you have to understand is that they have overwhelming melee power. So in melee, they are extremely killy. They're more killy than we are, although we can focus down a unit in melee better than they can due to like our strats and stuff. But overall, their melee is going to be just straight up better on average. So what you have to understand is everything in the army is a 2-up arm save, 4-up invulnerable save. The way you get past those 4-up invulnerable saves is with volume. Luckily, Liberator Assault Group gives us volume in spades. Whether you're running the Sanguinary Guard, whether you're running the Fight First Blade Guard Vetsbrick, whether you're running the Death Company Captain with Death Company. Oh my gosh, a 5-man squad of Death Company led by a Death Company Captain. I don't know if you guys have done the math on it, but holy crap, that is traumatizing. I think it's, let's see, it's 6 attacks for the Captain, and then it's going to be 8 Power Fists, and then it's going to be effectively 8 more Power Fists from the Eviscerator. So, or I'm sorry, 4 more Power Fists, so that's 12 plus 6. That's 18 Power Fist attacks, basically, that are all re-rolling, getting sustained, probably getting lethal and plus 1 to wound as well. That tears through people, and then you combine it with the bonus, like, 10 chainsword attacks. So when it's all about Custodes, what you do is you got to play a little bit differently. You don't play the game where, hey, I'm just going to charge 2,000 points of my army into 2,000 points of your army. This is something that Blood Angels love. This is what melee pressure armies like to do. But against Custodes, it doesn't work that way. Because if you do that against Custodes, they're just going to kind of activate a bunch of Field of Pains on those Wardens, and then they're going to blast you into smithereens. So here's Custodes' strengths that you have to understand. They've got just raw stats. They've got very, very good anti-tank vehicles in the form of the Caladius Gravity Tank, which we can absolutely neuter with Lancers and Ball Predators, because they're going to have to come out to shoot the Ball Predators. Lancers then get to get the drop on their Gravity Tanks. So we can neuter those things. But then the next problem is going to be the Wardens, and everyone plays into Wardens incorrectly. If you're going to be playing into Wardens, here's the way to do it. Here's the way I recommend you do it. You have to screw with your opponent's head. So what I'm going to do, if I'm playing Blood Angels, at the start of the shooting phase, I'm going to have 2 Ball Predators out in the middle of the battlefield, and I'm going to have either, whether it's going to be my Blade Guard Vets, whether it's going to be my Sanguinary Guard, whether it's going to be the Captain, whatever, with the Death Company, it doesn't matter. And they're going to be in position to charge into 2 different Wardens and shoot 2 different Wardens. So at the start of the shooting phase, I'm going to ask my opponent, hey, would you like to activate your once per game Feel No Pain? My opponent says no. I say, okay, I'm going to spend 1 CP to throw a grenade. That's going to kill 1 Warden. Then I'm going to immediately shoot into that Warden blob. And between 2 Ball Predators, you're going to kill 2 Wardens. Now they're going to have 1 to 2 Wardens left. Pistols, I don't know, a Lancer here or there, whatever. They have 1 Warden left. Then when you charge them, if they want to activate the Fort Feel No Pain, they can feel free. It won't matter because you're going to be able to kill the squad. Or whatever, yes, they do activate their Feel No Pain. Great. You shoot everything into the other squad of Wardens. If they activate the Feel No Pain on both, great. You shoot, you cause whatever damage you can. It doesn't matter, but you're not going to waste the CP on grenades anymore. But you are going to spend 1 CP on a tank shock when you charge him with your Ball Predator. And you're going to cause 3 more wounds. You're going to kill a Warden in the charge phase. You're going to charge him with your JPI. You're going to cause 2 to 3 mortal wounds, and hopefully you kill a Warden with them, right? So that's going to be 2 in the charge phase. And then they're not going to have a Feel No Pain anymore because they just used it in the shooting phase. So what you have to do is you really have to bait that out. The way you bait it out is by giving 2 choices. You don't want your opponent just to have... You don't want there to be only 1 choice. Because if there's only 1 choice, they're going to activate the Feel No Pain. You're going to deal no damage. And then in the charge phase, they're probably going to have something activated to like Heroic Intervene and screw with you, okay? So you want to give yourself 2 choices so that you can make them waste 2 Feel No Pains in 1 phase. That's the way to do it. All right. So Custodes is a decent matchup. I always find a lot of fun. I tend to do really well in it. I think that's probably my experience from playing Custodes. So I'm going to say that this is just a tough, good match that everyone's always excited to have. Bringing us on to the Chaos Demons. Now, the Chaos Demons are awesome. I have been playing them quite a bit for the last year, actually. I've had a lot of fun with them. They have some serious advantages against most armies. If you're playing Demonic Incursion, 6-inch Deep Strike Charge is no joke. Now, one of the cool things about being Blood Angels against that is, guys, we're Space Marines. We still take Infiltrators. We take Infiltrators. They give you 12-inch Deep Strike Denial Bubbles That's pretty darn good into an army whose whole shtick is, hey, I'm going to get a 6-inch deep strike charge. Of course, this is demonic incursion. It can change with some of the other detachments. But that is a very, very powerful buff. This is one of those matchups where I don't necessarily just leave my infiltrators to hold my home field. A lot of times when I'm playing against demonic incursion, I actually run the infiltrators in front of my army to stop these deep strikes where I don't want them to go. Now, if it's linchpin or something, you would, of course, leave it in your home field because you have to hold your home field. But being able to control deep strikes, denial stuff with your Blood Angels is a very, very powerful ability because you are still Space Marines. It's a very important part of the game to remember that you're still Space Marines. Blood Angels is not about putting down 60 jump pack units and just charging. It might be fun. It might be tempting, but it will not serve you as well as if you had more of a collection of toolboxes of tools in your toolbox. All right. So when it comes to Greater Demons, if you do the math on it, your Death Company captain with your Death Company Marines will kill it'll deal like 18 damage into a Bloodthirster, which I think kills a Bloodthirster. So if you're going into like a Greater Unclean one or something, then he's got 20 wounds. So you're going to need maybe throw grenades first, right? So basically, though, that squad will kill a Greater Demon, and that's a great trade for you to make. That's a lovely trade for you to make. It's awesome. Whatever Dante goes into, he's going to kill. The only thing that you're not going to kill in a one-shot in Demonic Incursion is if you're going into the Greater Unclean one who has the Endless Gift, which is the Fort Filled Pain. I would recommend just never even looking at him. Just let him score 5 points every turn and go murder everything else. You're fast enough that you can get to them. Whether you're doing it with a rapid ingress or with a whatever, you still have enough firepower to like soften people up between 2 Lancers or Vindicators, whatever you want to run. I like Lancers. It's whatever. It's fine. They don't have T12 unless they're Greater and Clean ones, which means your Ball Predators are still wounding them on 5s, which is great. It's very, very powerful. Do not sleep on these Ball Predators, guys. Do not sleep on these Ball Predators. You've got unchargeable units. So you've got your Blade Guard Veteran squad, which can't be charged because if Scarbrand charges them, they're just going to activate Fight First. You're going to spend 1 CP to give them +1 attack and +1 strength. And then you're also going to use your Chaplain to unbattle shock you so that you can then use a lethal on him if you want. So you will just murder them. Okay? So Greater Demons are not the biggest problems for Blood Angels. You can just push through those 4 invulnerable saves. Now there are some other builds, like you see some Shadow Legion builds, but the reality is you have the mobility and you have the volume of attacks, especially when, and guys, I am talking about this from a Liberator Assault Group perspective because I'm a Liberator Assault Group kind of guy. I don't think Angelic Inheritors are as good. I definitely don't think they're bad. That's not my claim. It's just Liberator Assault Group just gives you so much more volume into everything that it's so hard for me to leave behind. So you get the volume you need to get rid of these bigs without, really worrying too much about it. So I find this to be a very good matchup. I'm generally pretty happy going into the Chaos Demons. Dark Angels. I'm not going to speak too much about them. I will say that I personally believe that Dark Angels are amazing right now, and I am currently building a Dark Angels list out that I'm probably going to be taking to a major here in a few months. I think that most Dark Angels lists are going to get stomped by most Blood Angels lists. Just Blood Angels are going to get initiating. They're going to be winning everything on 2s. They're going to have such a big volume that Dark Angels just won't be able to do much about it. But there is a Dark Angels build that is very challenging, and I think that build is in Wrath. So if you're looking at Wrath and you start seeing those -1 to wound Death Company, that also could be -1 to hit if you use certain abilities or if you use certain combinations, and then they're -1 damage. It's like the best anti-elite unit in the game is Deathwing Knights. People think of Deathwing Knights as these anti-monster vehicles because they have anti-monster vehicle 4 up on the profile, but they're really not. Because if you do the math, a squad of Deathwing Knights don't actually kill an Armiger. I think they leave it on like 1 wound, so they don't kill an Armiger, which means they don't kill half their health in vehicle, half their points value in vehicles in a turn. So they're really bad at it, but they're incredible at killing elite infantry because they hit on 2s, strength 6, AP 2, damage 2. It's just brutal. So they actually can counter our elite infantry with those Deathwing Knights, and more importantly, the Lionel Johnson, which in my not humble opinion at all, I'm firmly convinced Lionel Johnson is the best Primarch in the game right now. I think he is brutal, and people are sleeping on him a ton. So if they're running Wrath, where they're taking Deathwing Knights and they're taking the Lion, who can just rapid ingress and heroic and fight first and just ruin your day, then I think you might be screwed. But overall, the vast majority of the Dark Angel Knights I'm seeing out there would get crushed by the majority of the Blood Angel list that I'm seeing out there. So I just gave you guys like a really weird exception just because I got stuff to say. I had some ranting I needed to do. But overall, Blood Angels are actually just really good into basically all Space Marines. So I'm actually just gonna hold all the Space Marines to because I don't want to clutter up the screw. I'll put it up there. All right. Anyway, Death Guard. Let's talk about Death Guard. Damn, I'm screwed. There's no gameplay into Death Guard. You guys know me. I'm all about problem solving. Like that is one of the things that draws me to Warhammer so much is how do we solve problems? And there always is a solution to every problem. People might think things are hopeless. They might think that, oh, this is an impossible combination. No, there always is a way to solve the problem. That doesn't mean every army has the tools to solve every problem. Whether you're playing into Virulent Vectorum, whether you're playing into Mortarian's Hammer or Anvil, I don't think Blood Angels can really beat Death Guard. Now, good player can beat bad player. I totally recognize that. But from a simple matchup perspective, there's nothing you can really do about those Death Shroud Terminators coming down and charging it and murdering everything they charge. Now, you could say Infiltrators, sure, but most of the competitive Death Guard armies that you're seeing are going to be running 2 to 3 Plagueburst Crawlers, and you can pretty much guarantee that the very first target that they're going to go for are those stinking Infiltrators. Oh, look, a wild 7-month-old appeared. Can I show her? Can I? All right, you guys are about to see the greatest little Gretchen in existence. Look at this thing. Look at this thing. Look at this. I made this. Hi, Lily. Don't hit the microphone. Look how cute she is. Say hello. Look how cute you are. She's very good at wahing. She's amazing at wahing. All right. Yes, you can't eat the microphone. Here you go. She did steal my cord. Hi, baby. All right. Anyway, let's talk about murder in the 41st millennium. So yeah, any Death Guard player worth their salt is just going to go ahead and drop those Plagueburst Crawlers right on top of the freaking Infiltrators. Then you're not going to be able to block out those Death Shroud Terminator charges, and they are going to absolutely annihilate and brutalize. It's a very, very big problem. -1 armor save, even though that they have cover. Now they're saving on 4s. It's just so bad. Those drones, perfect profile for killing Sanguinary Guard. Mephitic Blight Haulers will just tear through your Lancers. They can move through walls. If it's Virulent Vectorum, you're basically just praying that they fail their Battle Shock when Dante charges in, and Mortarion or the Death Shroud aren't -1 damage. There's just every single detachment has something that handles Blood Angels in such a big way. I can't win. Like I can't figure. I can beat players that just are not as good. Don't get me wrong, but in an even matchup against a player of relatively decent similar skill, I can't win. But I did figure out how to beat them. It just means I got to go play Dark Angels. I just can't do it with Blood Angels. So that's the way it goes. Anyway, enough of the doom and gloom. They're gonna be patched soon. Don't worry, guys. Dukari. Dukari's honestly just not a hard matchup. Like it's a pretty easy matchup. I mean, it basically can be as simple as I'm just gonna throw the Dukari. I'm just gonna throw a Ball Predator up there, and you're really not allowed to move anything you want to move this turn. All right, sorry, your Scourges actually can't come out to go shoot my Lancers from this distance, which means my Lancers got to shoot your transports and shoot everything else up. Meanwhile, I'm just going to move all my infantry up and just obliterate. Oh, you want to charge me with the Lilith? No problem. Sanguinor just comes in, and Sanguinor precisions her out. She's dead. Congratulations, you had a useless charge. Like, there's just nothing Dukari can really put together to handle Blood Angels. That is not to say that someone like Skari can't come up with some magic, but that's the way Dukari is. Let me just catch up with chat here for a second. Sean Pilled said, how do you deal with the Lion? Yeah, the Lion's really hard to deal with, because if your opponent's smart, they're going to be teleporting turn 1 and even rapid ingressing turn 1 if they go first, and then he's going to be lone upped. So it's going to be really hard to deal with him. You can't charge him. What you have to do is you got to activate Mortals into him when he doesn't have his Feel No Pain up, because his Feel No Pain up is part of his Primarch Aura. And if he's doing his rapid ingress thing, then you can't really do that. But good luck actually getting in range to do that. So that's easier said than done. But if you can get Mortals into him, then you're probably pretty happy. Julian Guillermo Adarme. Love. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I love that little girl. She's awesome. My little girl is cutie. Dude, she is the greatest blessing. She's amazing. I absolutely adore her. So Gerard, you just said Dukari are list dependent because you need can openers with all the transports. So yeah, I mean you're not wrong with that, but remember their transports, their venoms are T6. I mean a ball predator will destroy a venom. Like you don't, and you're gonna take if you're listening to my advice, you're gonna take ball predators in basically every list anyway. So even a ball predator, which is like crazy anti-infantry and all this stuff, like he'll crush a venom. Like a venom just dies. So it's not like it's hard to pop those venoms. They're very easy, very very easy to do. And then when you're looking at like the Raiders or the Ravager, I think it's the Raider is the bigger transport. I mean, you're gonna be running 2 Lancers or 2 Vindicators if you're listening to my advice. That doesn't mean everyone's gonna do that, but there's a reason why I think you should do that, right? Yeah. So Dukari, it's a really good matchup. I'm tempted to say it's an amazing matchup. I haven't lost into them, but I'm not gonna be that bold just because it's possible we're suffering from lack of specialitis right now. So we'll leave it at that. Gene Stealer Cults. Gene Stealer Cults, it's a tough matchup. It's a good matchup. It's very strong. If you guys don't know, there's really only one Gene Stealer Cults build out there that's really worth paying attention to right now, and that is going to be the Host of Ascension. Now, Host of Ascension is going to be anywhere between 80 to 120 neophytes with like 4 or 5 units of Flamer Acolytes, 3 Ridge Runners with mortars, and a couple pure strains, maybe a Reductus Saboteur here or there. If you have the mental fortitude to actually just go up and punch Gene Stealer Cults right in the throat, right in the freaking throat, you'll be fine. Because you just walk forward, you kill them. Yes, I understand they're going to resurrect and they're going to be able to come back to life. But most of these armies are only running maybe 1 Primus and 2 Benefictus, and those are the squads that actually deal damage. So once those characters die, the actual damage output drops off a freaking cliff. So you can stat check the crap out of them, but it requires you having the testicular fortitude to walk forward and drop the people's hammer right on their faces. If you can bring yourself to do it, you can push through Gene Stealer Cults. But it is kind of scary because, I mean, if you don't manage to do it, they can get you. They've got a lot of really good tricks. So they got Deep Strike Shenanigans. We have infiltrators. They're not really going to be charging you, which means, Sanguinor is going to be a lot less valuable. But it's always valuable to have a lone up character with a 2-up armor saving cover. Just saying. Like, that's never not valuable, right? You're just going to be using him for a little bit of a different purpose. This would be one of those matchups where I would start him in Deep Strike and have him rapid ingress to grab an objective that I couldn't stand on earlier in the game because I would get shot to pieces. So it's a fairly neutral matchup. I've played it a bunch of times. I found that when I have the testicular fortitude to just go for it and go kill them, I do great. But when I start getting scared of any damage output, it spirals downhill very, very rapidly. Psycho Eddie saying, let's hope the little girl get my genes from her mom and not from me. You're an asshole. You owe me a beer for that one, but I love you. Learn, train, play. You take ball predators only with flamers. I do. I take flamers. Yep. That doesn't mean I think that heavy bolters are bad. I think heavy bolters are a fine choice. I think there's absolutely a place for them, but I think flamers are a better choice. So that's just me. Yeah. Okay, let's go on into the next army. We have the Grey Knights. Now, Grey Knights just got a codex. I'm going to have a hard time speaking super intelligently, so grain of salt on this one. They just got a brand new codex. I've gone through it. I've been reading up on it. So I'm just going to say it out there. I think it's a pretty decent matchup. You know what? I'm actually not even going to have an opinion on this one. I'm going to put Grey Knights down at the bottom, and I'm just going to say I'm not going to comment on them. It's a brand new codex. I haven't had the experience into them, so I don't want to give you guys like false information on it, right? So I'm just going to withhold judgment on Grey Knights right now. If you guys want to hear gut feeling is it's a fantastic matchup. We're basically always going to be the initiators, and we can push through their invulns, and we should be able to obliterate them. That doesn't mean that's in practice going to be true. So I think them losing the amazingly skilled librarians with the mortal damage was a really big problem for them, into us particularly, in particular. But that's just my theory for right now. So I'm going to withhold judgment until I get some reps with them. Let's talk about Astra Militarum. Astra Militarum. We've got a good game at Astra Militarum. Basically, the matchup with the Astra Militarum is always going to go like this. They are going to throw their trash on objectives, where but behind cover. So we're going to have to throw our infantry forward to go kill their trash, and then their tank line is going to come out and destroy our infantry that comes in. That is how the game will go 9 times out of 10. The cool thing about what we have access to is we have access to cheap units that will murderize these larger infantry squads. This is one of the reasons why I actually don't like 3-man squads of Sanguinary Guard, even though 3-man squads of Sanguinary Guard at 110 sounds ludicrous. It's because a 3-man unit of Sanguinary Guard is actually worse at killing infantry than a 90-point unit of JPI. A 90-point unit of JPI is significantly better at killing infantry than a 110-point unit of Sanguinary Guard. So if I'm taking that unit of Sanguinary Guard at 110 to kill infantry, I'm always going to take it as a JPI instead. The 110 squad of Sanguinary Guard is also really bad into elites. I think they kill like 2 Blade Guard vets on average. That's not good. Actually, JPI kill more Blade Guard vets than Sanguinary Guard would, just because of the on-impact mortals and stuff. So what you're really looking at is you're looking at a unit that just is not particularly good at anything. Now, if you're in Angelic Inheritors, a 3-man squad of Sanguinary Guard is bonkers good. But in Liberated Assault Group, I don't necessarily like 3-man squads. Just not a big fan. That doesn't mean there's no place for them. Like, I do have a list where I run them, but they're run with the captain and stuff. It's just there were some weird points things that made that happen. But yeah, so I like JPI on that. I don't know how I got off on that rant. Oh, we're talking about Astral Militarum, right? So our JPI can go in, and they can legit clear 20 infantry. You go ahead and give them lethal hits on the charge, or I'm sorry, Oath of Moment with that squad. You very well can just pick up 20 Astral Militarum infantry. If then they have to move their tanks out to come and shoot those squads, you don't care at all. We're still going to take Space Marine Lancers, and 2 Lancers can focus down and kill a Leman Russ. They can also severely injure a Rogue Adorn or even kill a Rogue Adorn, which means that the tank gun line can't just move forward on us like they can on other armies, because they still have to respect some of the firepower that we have. Another huge deal that I like to do against Astral Militarum is I like to take Dante, and I put him in that central ruin. And I keep reminding my opponent, hey, listen, wherever you're standing, I can go up to 19 inches and then charge at +1. So I did this at the World Championships. It was really awesome. I actually charged Dante into a Rogue Adorn tank commander, I think, whatever. And I chose not to kill the Rogue Adorn. Instead, what I did is I positioned myself in such a way that I could pile in and tag 2 other tanks that were right next to him. So what happened is that in my opponent's turn, they were forced to decide, are they going to shoot into combat and try to kill Dante? Or are they going to fall back and hope that they're going to be able to move their other tanks in range and line of sight to be able to shoot my tanks or my Dante? Either way, they were completely screwed. Because if they didn't fall back their tanks, they weren't going to be able to get their other tanks through to shoot my tanks. And if they did fall back their tanks, then the other tanks that move up are then going to have to choose to either kill Dante or kill my tanks. At which point, I'm either going to have Dante alive or my tanks alive, which means I get to move through them. So I think we've got a really good game into Astral Militarum, but they do have some problematic units that we have to deal with. Like these 20-man Kriegsmen blobs are actually a real problem because they get to regenerate. So if you do miss on them, they're going to start regenerating. Very high OC. Then they've got these Ogren, or these Bulgren, sorry, which are -1 damage, which can skew math a lot. But you're still going to be able to push through them with Sanguinary Guard or with your Blade Guard veterans. The key in the Astral Militarum matchup is just making sure you understand that you don't necessarily have to kill a tank to deal with it. You just got to tag that tank because they don't really have access to fallback, shoot, and charge outside of 1 Strat and Hammer of the, or Emperor's Hammer. I think that's the only access they have to it. But we have a good game into it. It can be tough. If you make a mistake, they can just wipe you. If you guys really want to learn more about that, if you search my live streams, I did a live stream against Shatil, who's my admin in the Discord. Which, by the way, gonna take a quick moment, guys. Join the Discord. Membership costs you like $5, but it gets you access to like a wealth of knowledge and constant conversation about, how a war boss is the equivalent of 3 knobs, high probability of underkill. That was a little meme from the Discord, and I will never say it again. But if Mr. 50 Mike is watching, that was because I love you. You're welcome. Or Mr. Tipton, I love you. Anyway, so hop in the Discord. Though that way you can like actually get access to like strategizing and talking about how to deal with all these things. Anyway, and you also support the channel with it, which is kind of a huge big deal because I love doing this as my job, and I want it to continue. I think that's sick. Anyway, so Ashram Term, super solid matchup. You got to be really careful about making sure that you get to hit their tanks before their tanks hit you, or that you get to tag their tanks. Because if you tag their tanks, you neuter their movement, and that's a big deal. Let's talk about Imperial Knights. Now, this is the second army, and it will be the last army, and damn, I hate this here. Imperial Knights are, they're not unbeatable. I beat them to win my GT a few weeks ago when I was visiting the States. But the only reason I beat them is because my opponent made a mistake. I outplayed my opponent. I didn't beat them because the army was going to beat them. Ho! We got a super chat from Mr. Masbro-Effect. If you guys don't know, Masbro-Effect is the channel's largest supporter, and we love and appreciate him. Everyone say thank you, Masbro-Effect. You're a legend, and you are why I get to drink beer while I stream. Smash at the WTC, bud. Thanks for repping the Emperor's true finest. My guy. I am always going to rep the Emperor's true finest. Blood Angels basically tickle my fancy because I like to think of them as orcs who strapped jump packs and power armor on. And that's how I play my Blood Angels, and it's a blast. So let's talk about Imperial Knights here. The problem with Imperial Knights is our units don't actually kill the Atroposes. The Atroposes have a 5-up invulnerable save on top of their 6-up Feel No Pain, which skews the math where our units don't actually kill them. That sucks. You got Canis Rex. We can go one-tap Canis Rex with, say, Dante if we give him +1 to wound and armored contempt, but then Canis Rex fights on death and should pick up, if not the entire Sanguinary Guard squad, most of the Sanguinary Guard squad. We can't kill their Lancer. Their Lancers have that 4-up invulnerable save. We don't have anything that could just charge in and pick up the Lancer. The Lancer can then sweep with 10 attacks at AP2 damage 3 and pick up whatever charge squad that we sent into them. So basically, we cannot trade into them. It just can't be done. You're basically more or less relying on mathematical anomalies to be able to run through big knights, which means you have to try to play the mission game, denying primary, which can be very hard when these guys are OC10, denying secondaries, which can be very hard when they can do an action and still shoot. I find this to be hopeless is probably the wrong word, but let me just say, I'm not giving away any trade secrets at the WTC, which I'll be at next week, and hopefully I'll be able to do some streams at night to like how I'm doing my preparations for you guys. I'm not positive I can. But hopefully I will. My matrices say terrible into all Death Guard and all Imperial Knights, and I am not giving away any trade secrets when I say that. I am planning on losing every single match that they put me into against Death Guard and Imperial Knights. So there you have it. Okay, let's talk about Necrons. Necrons are freaking awesome. I will tell you right now, we beat Necrons. There is a Necron build that can be very challenging, but we beat Necrons. The one Necron build that runs like the 20 warrior blob, that's with Orkin, so they get the 4-up invulnerable save. They have the Catacomb Command Barge to activate their resurrection protocols, and then they also have the 2 Crypto Thralls into it. We do the math on it, and you actually need to do something like 96 wounds to kill that squad on average. The only way that you basically destroy this unit is you have to kill the Ghost Arc first, or you have to be able to assassinate Orkin and then go with the next unit, or you have to be able to whatever. You have to actually pick the pieces apart. We're one of the few armies that can actually basically push through this unit. So Dante's squad with 39 attacks doesn't kill the army, doesn't kill the unit. But if I can throw grenades to deal 3 damage, and then I can do a tank shock or a jump pack assault intercessor charge to deal another 3-ish mortal wounds. If I can deal 6 mortal wounds, then Dante can charge in, and then he's got the damage profile where he actually will statistically just pick up that squad. And that's a big problem for the Necron players if they're relying on that squad. So we're one of the few armies that actually can push through that. I was actually considering starting to run like 10-man squad, at least a squad of 10-man JPI, because that can really bias it even more. But the reality is the better plan is to actually pick the pieces apart. Now, easier said than done, because your opponent is always going to be hiding those pieces, make it very hard for you to do that. But we actually do have the profile to actually push through that, which is very rare in the game. I think one of the only other armies that actually... Oh, sorry, I just hit my microphone. If that was a little spike, my apologies. Americosaurus Rex. I got a little excited. So, oh, geez. Why the lighting turned off? Anyway, so, dude, I've had this shirt for like almost 10 years, and I still love it. But yeah, so and to Necrons, you actually have the ability to basically deal with everything. Okay, you've got the freaking Satan. Everyone hates Satan, but you know what? We've got access to full rerolls to hit with lethal hits to actually be pushing through all of that. Like a Death Company captain with Death Company Marines should actually deal like 10 damage to a Satan. So if you shot a grenade or you charge with like a JPI or you just dealt 3 damage somehow beforehand, you'll kill a Satan with Death Company Captain and Death Company. So we've got all the tools we need to basically be able to push through absolutely anything. If you're playing against Star Shatter Arsenal, we've got all the tools we need because we are the melee pressure army, and melee pressure armies give Star Shatter Arsenal huge issues. So we actually have a very good gameplay into Necrons on average. I would recommend that whenever you play Necrons, you kill what you're trying to kill. Do not give them the opportunity to resurrect. Even into Wraith Spam, guys. The way that we deal with Wraith Spam isn't that hard because we've got such incredible solo characters. This is one of the reasons why I always run both Mephiston and the Sanguinar. So if I'm playing into Necrons, I can actually pick up 2 squads of Wraiths in one turn without trying to all that hard. I will charge in, well, I guess it's only got to be one because I can only, epic challenge with one character. But if I want to charge in Mephiston and Bladeguard Vets into one squad of Wraiths, Mephiston will precision out the Technomancer. Technomancer dies. It doesn't matter if it's Awakened Dynasty that he resurrects because it would resurrect at the end of the phase anyway. And then I would go with my Bladeguard Vets, who are now going into these Wraiths where I'm hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s to hit, wounding on 2s because I'm +1 to hit wounds thanks to the Chaplain. And he's got a 4 invulnerable save, but he has feel no pain anymore. They will clean pick up that squad. And then the Technomancer will resurrect at the end of the phase, but that doesn't matter because now the Wraiths are dead and the Technomancer is basically not important anymore. We have the ability to dual tap these Wraith squads, unlike a lot of other armies do, which makes it good for us. So we have good gameplay into Necrons. Orcs, we're really good into Orcs. We've got a great game plan into Orcs. We actually do quite good into Orcs. I will caution you, do not think that Orcs are a free win. They are not. If you're an Orc player, because I love you, I'm going to give you Orc players the sweet sauce here. If you're an Orc player and you're playing into Blood Angels, you must have 5, preferably 6 CP on the go turn. And the go turn is the turn where you are going into combat, whether you're being charged or you're doing the charging. You have to have 6 CP. You must have 2 CP to fight on death. Because let's say the Blood Angel player charges you with Bladeguard Vets and charges you with Sanguinary Guard and charges you with whatever the Sanguinary Guard unit is fighting. Hopefully you pass your battle shock test from Dante. If you fail it, you're screwed. But if you pass it, you're fighting on death and you're going to basically wipe their squad in return. Maybe not 100%, but enough where that's all you really need. Then you're going to, at the same time, 2 CP to combat interrupts into the Bladeguard Vets. You'll crush the Bladeguard Vets. Then you're going to have 1 CP to be -1 to be wounded against maybe like a JPI unit that charged. And you're still going to have a CP left to give Unbridled Carnage to also crit on 5s. It's about, do you have enough CP to fuel the go turn? For my Blood Angel players, just don't let him do that. Don't let him do that. One thing you really have to understand about charging Orcs is that you can't charge just 1 unit. Because if you just charge 1 unit and you kill them, they're going to fight on death and also kill you. And that's a big problem. Because if they fight on death and kill you, then basically you accomplish nothing. You traded 1 for 1. And Orcs units are almost always going to be cheaper than your units. Which means you have to, at minimum, charge 2 units. Problem is that if Orcs have 2 CP to fight on death and 2 CP to combat interrupts, basically, they'll fight on death, kill you when you kill them, and then they'll combat interrupts and kill you. Which means on your turn, you charge 2 units, lost 2, and your opponent only lost 1. That's awful. So you have to make sure that your opponent can't really do this, or the combat interrupt is ineffective. Let's say the combat interrupt would be like, I don't know, Beast Snag is into Sanguinary Guard where you have AOC. All right, you don't care if he interrupts with that, right? So you just have to make sure that you calculate this right in your head. But overall, they have basically no armor save. You've got good armor saved on everything. You've got +1 to wound and +2 strength, which means that you can be wounding them on 3s or 2s whenever you want to on demand. It's generally a good matchup for the Blood Angels. Just don't sleep on it. Adeptus Sororitas, or as I like to call, the Sisters of freaking Battle. This is a good matchup. It's a solid matchup. It's a really good matchup. Sisters of Battle is a better army than Agents of the Imperium, obviously. You've got really 3 detachments that we're seeing right now. You've got Hallowed Martyrs, and Hallowed Martyrs is the detachment where they get +1 to hit when they're injured, +1 to wound when they're super injured. And they also have things like they have a unit that can force you to attack their unit and not another unit. So kind of like Old Angel Sacrifice, if you guys remember that stratagem. Things like that. Hallowed Martyrs is probably the most popular. It's a very good detachment. Then they have Bringers of Flame, and that's the one where everything gets advanced to shoot. They've got the Devastating Wounds with the Flamer strat. It used to be Busted Broken. Now it's not nearly as good, but you're still seeing it played. And then the other one is going to be, I think it's Champions of Faith. It's like the Grotmus detachment, if I'm not mistaken. And this is the one where they're able to turbocharge 3 units and just give them +1 move, +1 leadership, and +1 to their weapon skill, because they've got a lot of really fancy things that they can do. They can make them -1 to be wounded, give like 5 up field of pains, having resurrections. So there's lots of cool things that they can accomplish. The problem is they don't have any way to really nuke our units. Yes, a Castigator is really good anti-infantry, but you just don't ever just be smart and don't ever position yourself to let multiple Castigators shoot you. If one Castigator wants to shoot into your Sanguinary Guard, you pop Armor of Contempt. Boom. You're saving on 2s against them. You can live with that. The only units that they really have that actually crush is going to be Morvenn Vahl. Morvenn Vahl will kill whatever she attacks, so you have to get the drop on Morvenn Vahl. Arcoflagellants are really good, but Arcoflagellants just get murdered instantly if they charge your Blade Guard Vets. If they charge your Sanguinary Guard, they just bounce. The Sanguinor comes down and just screws them up. So even if they charge like a unit of JPI, you can bring the Sanguinor down, or heavens forbid, Heroic in with Mephiston, and they're not going to be all that effective. So you're actually going to have an amazing game plan into Sisters of Battle. Now, Sisters of Battle do have the Exorcist, so if they're running triple Exorcist spam, this can be problematic. Now, you don't see this very often, and the reason why you don't see this very often is because if they have a single turn of whiffing with those indirect shots, they basically auto-lose the game, because that is too many points for them to have sitting back there. So you don't see it very often, but if you do see it, it can be traumatic, but there's basically nothing you can do about it, so I don't even consider it in my brain. I just like, all right, cool, they have those indirect, and it's either going to pop off or it's not. Meanwhile, I'm going to play my game and just absolutely table my opponent because they don't have any efficient profiles into me. They've got these, what is it called? Sacrosancts. It's AP 1 and melee with like strength 4. What do you care? It doesn't even matter if it's damage 2. You just armor contempt on your Sanguinary Guard, you're -1 to hit, -1 to wound, and Bob's your uncle. So you're just in such a good position where you can handle everything that they can put out at you, except for Morvenn Vahl. But that's just one unit that you got to play around, and you're so much faster than him that you just go murder her. You just go murder her. So yeah, Sisters of Battle I think is just a crush. I think it's just an absolute curb stomping. Let's look at the Tau Empire. Tau Empire, I have actually found Tau to be a fairly challenging game. I have found Tau to be hard. If you're playing a skilled Tau player, it's pretty darn hard because they're so cheap, and it requires us to dedicate a unit to kill one of the units. They can just play this trading game, and it's not like we can just spread out and tag a bunch of their guys, because everything that's a crisis suit or any form of battle suit will be able to fall back and shoot. Basically, I mean, I don't think that's 100% true, but that's like 98% true. Beer, I love beer. So like when that happens, that's really hard for you to actually get like the knockout blow that we're really looking for with the Blood Angels. So I found this to be a very challenging matchup. Now, I wouldn't say it's a bad matchup or Tau have a huge advantage in it. I certainly wouldn't make that claim. But it's very, very tough just simply based off of a unit perspective. They've got, if they're playing Montcalm, they've got extreme speed where they can nuke the crap out of you. So you have to play very conservatively for those first 3 rounds. If they're playing Cao Yan, then they're going to get sustained hits and ignore modifiers in rounds 3, 4, and 5, which means you absolutely have to murder them in rounds 1 or 2, or you're completely boned. So depending on the detachment that they're playing, they've got ways to really screw with you. I will say another unit that you really need to look out for, especially if you're playing Tau Ox Cadre, man, those Kroot Rampagers that they have access to the 7-inch scout, then the advance and charge with them. That's a very, very big problem because those guys charge in and they're going to cause buku mortal wounds, and they could just crush your army. They don't care about your fights first stuff. That could be a very, very big problem. So if I were you, I would approach Tau with respect, even though people seem to think Tau suck right now. Tau do not suck right now. They're just underexplored due to faction specialist burnout. So, yeah, it's no joke. Fall back and shoot on basically everything that matters in their army is pretty freaking good. And then those Sky Rays are going to be getting reroll hit rolls against everything in your army because everything in your army has fly. So they're going to basically always reroll hit rolls. It's a lot. All right, let's talk about Tyranids. Now, I have found once I started playing with my Lancers, because I wasn't using them, but once I started running Lancers to support my army, my Tyranid matchup became very, very decent. Because what happens now is that the second they poke out an Exocrine, Lancers melt the Exocrine. Just melt it. One thing that I have found is that I do not care about my Lancers being alive as long as they kill the Exocrines. And it doesn't matter the Exocrines cost less than the Lancers. Completely irrelevant to me. I don't care. The Exocrines are the things that are going to ruin my Sanguinary Guard and my Blade Guard veterans. So, my Lancers are specifically here to kill the Exocrines. I don't care that the Tyrannofexes will then walk out and then kill my Lancers. Doesn't matter to me at all, because the Lancers' only purpose is to make sure that you kill those freaking Exocrines, which I believe are the backbone of Tyranids when they're playing into Blood Angels. Because they can't charge you, because like we've already spoken about with basically every single melee army in the game, they can't charge Blood Angels. The Sanguinor, Mephiston fights first Blade Guard, vets with +1 to wound. It's just too much. You can't charge us. But those Exocrines can pick you up. So if you have a strategy to deal with those, which Lancers are my strategy of dealing with them, then you're going to be sitting pretty. I found Tyranids to be a very good matchup. When I run into trouble against Tyranids, it's when I'm playing against things like Crusher, Stampede that are just throwing Tyrannofexes up in my grill. And they're just tossing the Tyrannofexes at me, and they are saving the Exocrines for after I come out to kill the Tyrannofexes. When they do that, I struggle, and I've lost those games. But most people aren't doing that, which means that Tyranids are generally a good matchup. It's just the way, man. So, yeah, there we go. Tyranids, solid matchup against your Blood Angels, for your Blood Angels, I mean. And you got to watch out for a few other tricks. I have seen some people struggling against Subterranean Assault. Guys, bring Infiltrators, your Space Marines. I know Blood Angels love to, like, crush and burn and chainsaw and suck the blood of their enemies. But the reality is, you have Space Marines. Bring Infiltrators. Block out those stupid Subterranean Assault teleport shenanigans. It's a big problem. They still can't charge you. Even if you're scared of, like, those Trigons and you're scared of, like, those freaking Raveners and stuff, they can't charge you. You've got the best charge defense, basically, in the game. All right, moving on, we got Leagues of Votann. Oh, sorry, hit the mic again. I need to get a different mic stand. Someone give me, like, $200 so I can order a much better mic stand. That'd be awesome. You don't have to do that, by the way. That sounded so arrogant. I'm just saying that's what I would use it for, and I love you all. Leagues of Votann. I can't wait for the new book. There's only the index right now. We're in a pretty good position. Those Sagittars are annoying, but we kind of melt them with our just good Space Marine shooting. Hecaton Land Fortresses are good, but yep, melt them with good Space Marine shooting. You can charge and murder basically everything. The Berserks can cause problems for people, but the reality is it's not that hard to play around the Berserks. I just haven't struggled against them. They want to put their freaking what are they called? Jaegers down there to block all of your infiltrating with your scouts. But that would require them to deploy first, and then that just gives you a very free early game turn 1 kill. You have your scouts ready to deploy and block all of his scout movements. The real problem with Votann is when they take these 6-man bike units, and these 6-man bike units go back into strat reserves, and they appear on the other edge of the table, and they shoot at you with sustained hits too. They're going to run through you. But it's all at AP1. You've got access to Armor of Contempt. Then you just save on 2s against them with your critical units. So Votann just don't have good gameplay into the Blood Angels. I think I need to put my picture a little bit down because I'm gonna put another good play for the Blood Angels. And basically, this is where I'm at, guys. We've got really good play into almost all of the freaking meta. There are 3 armies that we really struggle against. We really struggle against Chaos Knights. We can't beat Death Guard, and we can't beat Imperial Knights, which are the problems in the meta right now. So it's not necessarily, that's probably why we're not seeing Blood Angels do particularly well in the meta. We're not seeing a lot of podiums, and that's because, and that's because, oh my gosh, I don't know where my brain just went. Right. That's because the top of the meta, which I think is like 30% of the entire meta right now, is nothing but Death Guard, Imperial Knights, and Chaos Knights. So, like, okay, cool. So that's why you're not seeing a lot of podiums, but it's not because Blood Angels are under strength. We're actually at an amazing strength level. And if you look at the way we play into the rest of the meta, man, we are really, really good right now. It's actually a great time to play Blood Angels. It's just unfortunate that the top is so top heavy. But like I said, I mean, that's going to be fixed in a month in the balance status. Like, no, there won't be an emergency balance patch. However, if it was Dukari or Orcs that were the problem, there would have been an emergency balance patch, because GW is biased. Sir Eppert, you were about to drop 200, but then you were told not to. Oh, how dare you, sir? My own foot in my mouth has hit me again. I appreciate you for loving the content, buddy. You're a great person, and you guys hanging out with us is freaking awesome. Love y'all. All right, let's talk about World Eaters. Kill, main, burn. I freaking like World Eaters. I think some of World Eater stuff is so sick. I was playing a game with the new Berserker Warband the other day, and, well, like maybe a few weeks ago, I had one Hellbrute. Just like double tap an entire Eldar army. I had activated the +1 AP for it, and then I had the sustained hits on it, and then I had the pile in and consolidate 6 inches thing on it. I killed 7 Eldar units in a single activation with that freaking Hellbrute. It was the most satisfying experience of my entire life. I had so much fun with it. The joy it brought me. I came home and I was talking to Lily, my 7-month-old. I was telling her about it. And my wife was like, would you please stop talking about maiming elves to our daughter? And I was like, no, absolutely not. I'm going to talk about it. It's just what's going to happen. As a matter of fact, then we put on Black Clover because that's our favorite anime. And then we watched Asta and crew just beat the crap out of a bunch of elves because I like beating pointy ears and I have to instill that into my daughter as well. So it was a beautiful, beautiful time. Okay, anyway. World Eaters. A lot of people are very scared of World Eaters as a Blood Angels player right now. And I think the win rates show that World Eaters have a good game plan into Blood Angels. But I am going to spill the sauce. Blood Angels crush World Eaters. It requires a couple things. It requires not a 100% melee approach. You have to have some shooting. You have to be able to blast those Hellbrutes off because you can't really fight them in melee unless you're charging with like Dante or if you're charging with Blade Guard Vets. If you're charging with one of those two, you can one-tap them. But anything else, you can't really charge them because if you leave them on 1 wound, it's a big old problem. They could just run through your army. The 20-man units of Berserkers, they are at the freaking mercy of Dante's Battle Shock aura. If Dante comes in and those Berserkers fail their Battle Shock, they can't use -1 damage, which means Dante's squad wipes the entire squad. If they do pass and they do spend their 2 CP for -1 damage, you're still going to kill about 15 models with your AP3. That's through -1 damage. That will completely neuter the units. Their Forge Fiends are great. I get it. They get to reroll hits. They only reroll hits when they're within 18 inches. And only if they're targeting the closest enemy unit. So you just have a unit that's slightly closer. That's not the one that they really want to be shooting at. If you have a Scouts unit, Combi Lieutenant, Mephiston, anything like that closer to the Forge Fiend, they don't get to reroll their shots. If they're shooting into one of your tanks, your Ball Predators, because if you guys know the way I play Blood Angels, I use my Ball Predators as like my first melee pressure units. I actually shove them out and I use them to pressure the board. I'm going to pop smoke. And then he's hitting me on 5s. I don't care if he's rerolling. It's a big problem. If they want to charge, Sanguinor comes in, screws up the pipelines, kills 2 to 3 models. Mephiston, you can't charge Mephiston without Mephiston just taking his pound of flesh. You can't charge the Blade Guard Veterans because the Blade Guard Veterans are going to take their pound of flesh. We just have so many things that you can't charge that an army that is dependent upon charging is really going to struggle into. Now, I will say the Khorne Demonkin detachment is significantly better. Is significantly harder for us to beat. I will absolutely admit that. Hey, wife? Could I have cold beer? I'm getting cold beer because I have an awesome wife. Normally, I'd have to stand up and get it myself, but she's in there. I'm just saying good things about you. Anyway, yeah, so we have great gameplay into every single melee army. I have been crushing World Eaters. What I would like to do is I would like to... Oh, thank you, love. Oh, Thank you, Lily. You helped too. So I would really, really like to. Oh, it's cool on my tongue. I want to get some feedback from some people. So if you're in the Discord, if you're challenging, if you're having challenges playing into World Eaters with Blood Angels, I want you to send me some blurbs, just like a little description of what challenges you're facing, because I want to do a stream on how to fix that. Because I am seeing win rates that are weird, where like it looks like World Eaters are just kind of running through Blood Angels a lot of times, and I can't compute it in my head because we have every single tool we could possibly need to crush the World Eaters. So I really want to understand the struggles that you guys are feeling when it goes into World Eaters, so I can speak specifically. I'll do a specific video on it as well once I understand the struggles people are going through with it. Yeah. All right, let me check about the cat here for a second. Gerard, he wanted to ask, so I feel that Blood Angels are the best of the rest. I would basically say at the top of it, it's probably going to be a balance of Blood Angels and T-Sons. T-Sons are very, very good right now. Emperor's Children is pretty good. Chaos Space Marines, I think, is really good. I think Dark Angels are fantastic right now. But I would say Blood Angels are definitely at the top of best of the rest. That doesn't mean that there's no one who could maybe fight them. But yeah, right below the big three, which is going to be Imperial Knights, Chaos Knights, and Death Guard, for sure. So what you're really telling me is you're a great dad who's instilling proper hate for Xenos in your kid. Yeah, dude. Oh, that's hilarious, man. Miyu the Painting Cat, you played against T-Sons, and it's rough for you and your Blood Angels. Hey, man, the best advice I can give you, legit, stand behind a wall until you're ready to engage. If you're behind a wall, there's literally nothing he can do about you. T-Sons have zero ability to interact with you if you're standing behind a wall. Like, I know this sounds like it's too simple, but it's true. No greater feeling than cold beer. Broken Machine, I'm with you, bud. It's cool on my tongue. I don't even drink to get drunk anymore. I just like, this is actually alcohol free. I just like beer. Yeah, against World Eaters, a lot about who gets to strike first. It's really, so Pound says against World Eaters, it's a lot about who gets to strike first. So in my opinion, dude, I don't think it is, because if World Eaters charge you, you're striking first. You've got if you're building like an appropriate Blood Angels army, you've got 3 different fights first units. You've got your Sanguinar, you've got your Mephiston, and you've got your fights first Blade Guard veterans. Be positioned in such a way that he can't charge you. If he's charging into your Sanguinary Guard, bro, you're -1 to be hit, you're -1 to be wounded with a 2-up armor save, and you're going to be Armor of Contempted, and he's going to have to pass a Battle Shock test if he wants to actually interact with you. That's a problem. I will talk about EC, Seal. I will talk about EC. I promise you. I promise you. Yeah, I didn't have it loaded in, so I'm just gonna pretend. But I will talk about EC. So anyway, World Eaters. I do want to hear about some of the problems that people are facing. It's a good matchup, and I'm gonna solve y'all's problems if you guys DM me on Discord, and I'll collect all those. I'll do a video specifically on the conditions that you guys DM me with. You got to be a member of the Discord though. I'm not gonna just, it is what it is. I need my $5, damn it. Then we have General Vanilla Space Marines. Blood Angels are really good into Space Marines. They're just really, really good into Space Marines. All right. Dark Angels have a reasonable play into them. But if you're running into things like Gladius Ultramarine builds, you're going to hit them first. You're just going to hit them first. You're going to, like, on anything besides maybe GW4, you're going to get the first strike. And when you get the first strike, you can very easily kill 800, 1,000 points of their army first. It's a big, big deal. That's a big problem. You're wounding everything in their army on 2s. Especially when you're playing Liberator Assault Group, you don't even need to spend your strat to wound them on 2s, because your Sanguinary Guard go up to strength 8 and your Power Fists go up to strength 10. Like, you get all these things. You have every advantage you could possibly ask for into your vanilla Marines. So I highly recommend you guys take advantage of that. Where people run into problems is when you think that you should only be Blood Angels and you're not still a Space Marine player. You need your Vindicators or your Lancers. Ball Predators are amazing. You need your shooting to support you, because otherwise they could just put like I don't know, an empty impulsor on an objective and then force you to trade something much stronger than the impulsor out for the impulsor. So you have to still think like a Space Marine player who has Blood Angel units. But if you take your double Lancer, your double Vindicator, you're gonna be in a good position. And when I say that, don't mistake me. I'm not saying you need 2 Vindicators and 2 Lancers. That's not what I'm trying to not what I'm trying to claim. We got a super chat from Mr. Josh Little for $20. Thank you so much. It means the world, man. It really, like, knowing that you guys are actually, like, appreciate the work that's coming out, it means everything, and I'm gonna 100% keep doing it. So thanks so much for that. I learn a ton from your videos. Thanks for everything you do. I feel like any Wolves build that threatens Blood Angels is a Wolves build that accepts the loss into Knights/Death Guard. Am I missing something? I would say that Wolves have a really good game, have a decent game plan into Death Guard and Knights. Well, actually, I don't see how they have a good game plan into Death Guard. They've got a good game plan into Knights. But that's going to require Beast Slayer. And that's about it. Like, so if they're not running Beast Slayer, then they're not going to be good into Knights. Now, there are some Gladius builds that can be decent into Knights. But, no, and any of those matchups, I think Blood Angel's just going to walk over. Because once again, you're still initiating. I mean, let's run the math on it. If you're playing into Space Wolves, what unit do you not want to fight your Sanguinary Guard? Well, you don't want Wolfen, and you don't want to be charged by Thunderwolves. Got it. Understood. I completely agree. Wolfen will be hitting on 3s, so down to hitting on 4s. They're going to be wounding you on 4s. So it's really, mathematically, it's not that great. So let's say a 10-man runs into you. It's 20 attacks. Hitting on 4s, that's 10 hits. Wounding on 4s, it's only 5 wounds. AP2, you armor contempt, you're saving on 3s. Even if it's 3 damage flat, they're going to kill 1 to 2 Sanguinary Guard, and then you wipe you might not wipe the squad. You might not have the volume, but you're probably going to wipe the squad. It's not actually as scary sounding as it sounds like. It's not as scary as it sounds like. So there's that. Thunderwolves, when they charge in, they get that flat damage 3, but they're running into the same problems. -1 hit, -1 wound. If they're charging into your Blade Guard vets, your Blade Guard vets fight first, murder them. I don't see. I've only played it maybe 3 times, so I don't have the experience to really run through every single iteration. But we've got everything we need. We've got everything we need to kill Space Wolves, and basically every form of Space Marines. Even though Black Templars have a lot of amazing stuff that they're coming out with their new codex, and I love their new codex. I think Black Templars codex is cranked. Blood Angels, we're going to initiate. We're going to hit first. We've got all the nerfs for the melee fighting. We've got all the buffs we need to murder everything in one shot. We can one-tap anything in their armies, and we hit first. That is such a huge strength. I think Dark Angels, if they're running the Wrath with the Lion, they might counter Blood Angels, but I think that's probably going to be about the only Space Marines. Anthony Berkowitz. Hey, Anthony, what's up, buddy? A single Hellbrute kills half Blood Angel's army. And I definitely, like, I talked, I don't know if you missed it, but I definitely talked about how strong that Hellbrute is. The problem is that, like, everything in Blood Angels will one-tap the Hellbrute as well. So it's kind of like, and if a Blood Angels army is running any shooting at all, the Hellbrutes are just going to get popped. Yeah. Gerard, I just started building Blood Angels. Found you while I was looking for Blood Angel videos to listen to while building. What country are you repping at the WTC? I play for Team Norway. So my wife is Norwegian. So we've been in Norway for the last few years. So I've been on Team Norway. This will be my 3rd year representing. We are planning on moving back to the United States next year. So we're undetermined on the future of the WTC. I might stay with Norway as a mercenary, or maybe I'll start trying out for our Team USA. We're not sure yet. And then, guys, we do have one left. We still got to do EC, so I am going to go through EC. Just wanted to catch up on chat here. Sad City. As a World Eater player, Fight on Death and Karn have carried me through Blood Angels. Yeah, that is the World Eaters combo. It's the Fight on Death thing. The problem with Fight on Death is that it really, really requires you to have the to roll the 4-ups for Fight on Death. And Blood Angel players, remember this. When you're going into World Eaters who have that Fight on Death up, shoot them. You have guns. You are Space Marines. Now, of course, if it's Khorne Berserkers, okay, you don't want to shoot them because they're going to blood surge into you. Shoot everything else. Shoot everything else. And charge the Khorne Berserkers. When the Khorne Berserkers fight on Death, they're only AP1. You armor contempt. Well, I guess you can't armor contempt since they're fighting on Death. But like they're only AP1. You'll be okay. You're gonna be okay, right? That's the way I look at it. But yeah, I agree with you, Bud. Sad City. That is how World Eater players have like a really good play. All right, so let's talk about Emperor's Children. I don't have a token for Emperor's Children. I was just a little bit of a lazy boo, and I didn't pin it. Sorry. So I'm gonna use Black Templars for EC because whatever, they're demented. EC is a tough match. It's a good match. It's a great match. EC has a lot of advantages over you. They've got access to these ignore cover freaking Blastmasters with flat damage 3 that can move 18 inches in a Rhino and just use the Rhino's firing deck to shoot you with. That's really, really strong. They can also hop out of the Rhino 3 inches and roll in advance, and they can go up to 15 inches on foot through walls. That's really, really good. They've got these freaking Demon Princes that can just come on in, cause a lot of mortal wounds when they charge, and then have flat 3 damage to hit you with. EC have all the tools they need to deal with Blood Angels. Flip it on the other side. Blood Angels have everything they need to deal with EC. Because those Noise Marines that want to come out and actually do all those shots, if you have a Ball Predator in the way, you're going to Overwatch and murder that entire squad. Oh, that Rhino can move really fast and get the angles? Well, listen, dude, I've got cheap scout squads that can hold and move block it for a turn. Meanwhile, if they do want to position themselves for that, I have a Lancer that can pop the Rhino. Demon Prince that wants to come in and wants to cause lots of mortals. Well, hopefully you don't roll super hot on the mortals, and then I can survive to hit you back. I mean, those Demon Princes are really good. I'm not going to claim that they're not. If they roll a lot of mortals, then you activate your Fiona Pain. Hopefully you activate some Fiona Pains. They want to charge the Lord Exultant with a bunch of Infractors to just murderize everything because those Lord Exultants are brutal. Sanguinar comes in, murders the squad. Mephiston, Heroic Sin, murders the squad. We've got these fight first tools which seriously handle all the trauma that the Emperor's Children have. The Emperor's Children have this amazing shooting unit which ruins us. We have the Ball Predator Overwatch into it. There is so much that we have to deal with them, that we can deal with every problem they have, but they can also deal with every problem we have. This is a amazingly fun matchup. I've run it a bunch. I have a blast every game I've ever played EC in. And so if you guys are watching, remember this Black Templars I have here is actually EC. I'm not going to go through all the individual Space Marines just because we're good against Space Marines. Maybe Dark Angels are like slightly better. Anyway. But yeah, so EC is an amazingly fun match. I have an absolute blast. Guys, I'm going to hang out for like, if you guys have questions, put them down, type them down. I'm happy to get to them before I close off. We've been live for almost an hour and a half. I'm happy to spend a few minutes answering questions if you have them. If not, then I'm going to pop off on here because it sounds like my daughter is being a little pterodactyl. I don't know if you guys can hear her in the background through the filter, but if you can, it's awesome. But yeah, so cool stuff is happening. Can't wait. I'll be in Austria next week. I'm going to have an absolute blast. I will be playing in the War Master. So for the singles tournament, I am running my Blood Angels in the War Master. I don't expect to do particularly well. There's going to be so many Imperial Knights, Chaos Knights, and Death Guard. Don't care. It is a warm-up for the WTC. There is a possibility that you guys might hear me on stream. As I know, I was talking to Joe from War Games Live. I don't know... he was telling me that he didn't have a co-host because his co-host had withdrawn on him. So I offered to actually hop on there on stream with him. He said he'll think about it. So I don't know if that is going to happen, but if it does happen, then I'll hop on and I'll do analysis with him. If not, then, you know, I love him and I'll just go play in the War Master instead. What I'll do is during the War Master days, what I'll do is I'm going to show you guys like how I prepare for the tournament. So I'll do like a morning live stream or not a live stream, but I'll do like a morning video and post it for you guys so I can show you like how I actually prep for matches. Kind of like I did for the World Championships last year. If you saw those, a lot of people had a lot of value and found a lot of value in that. All right. Julian has a question for me. What do you think about the other EC detachments? Dude, I think there are other EC detachments have a lot of play. Listen, this is a problem that I feel like happens in our game. So many of these freaking codexes come out, and one detachment is just clearly, like, obviously the best. And so everyone just immediately writes everything else off, and they say, oh, well, that sucks. That's not really true. Like, it doesn't, all the other stuff doesn't suck. It's just not as obviously good. But you're going to, when you dig deep into it, you find some crazy stuff. Like, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but think about Astra Militarum or Imperial Guard right now. They have recon or I forgot what's called. It's like recon force or whatever, where these are armies that are running 120 guardsmen, and they're really, really good. But no one paid any attention to them for the last, year because, it sucks compared to the other really good detachments. But when the meta changes, these things are great. Codexes have a lot more depth than people give them credit for. Now, I'm not saying bad detachments don't exist. Of course they do. I think you guys have heard my opinions on these several times. But no, I think that there's plenty of good other options in that EC Codex. How do you beat T-Sons as Orcs? Ugh. Well, okay, when you're playing T-Sons as Orcs, what you got to understand is that whatever they Overwatch dies. So you gotta try to push your entire army into them in one turn, because you're gonna accept that one thing's just automatically gonna die, and you gotta push everything else into them basically all at once. And you can't let them whittle you down. So don't give them any shots into you until you push 2,000 points of your army into their army. Orcs, bad or OP? Well, they're OP from a fun standpoint. We love playing Orcs, but they're pretty bad right now. Not Warhammer related, but I'm moving to Norway to live with your girlfriend in 2 weeks. Any advice on jobs? Are you American? Because if you are, you're screwed. You're going to have to wait for 5-6 months before you get a work visa. If you're in the EU and you're moving to Norway, then it'll be very easy. Yes. Yeah. So it's because Norway's, and especially it's summer right now, and the entire country is basically shut down. Now we're starting, like, Norway shuts down for a month and a half during the summer. You'll be on the tail end of it if you're coming in 2 weeks, but you might get lucky. Anyway, but if you're in Norway, if you come in Oslo, come to the clubhouse, give me a shout, okay, bud? Oh, you're coming from the UK? UK is not as easy as the EU, dude. There's a club of expats here, so give me a shout when you get here. Shoot me a message on Discord or something, and we'll grab a beer and we'll chat, okay? And then Pound, looking at this tier list from the perspective and Angels Inheritors player, how do you reckon it differs from Lag? Ooh, that's a good question. So as an Angelic Inheritors player, your raw damage stat checks are not going to be as good. They're just not going to be as good. So anything that requires like stat checkiness, like where I said, oh, I'm just going to shove 2,000 points of my army into your army, that kind of goes out the window. But you do have more gameplay. So we're talking about with your 18-inch loan op, the ability to uppy downy different units. You have abilities to reposition on the map a little bit better. So I would say that it's going to be actually fairly similar, but your stat check matchups are going to change a little bit. So make sure you pay attention to that, okay? Sean Pilled. Yeah, so screwed as well. Yeah. Oh, you're having a baby boy? Bro, that's awesome. That's such a blessing. Congratulations. That's sick, man. Not a totally disagree. He assumes decent, but need every straight inspiration against everything. Brexit strikes again. Mew the Painting Cat. You can't win against Death Guard. I use your Dark Angel list in 1. All right, hold on. I can't win against Death Guard. I use your Dark Angels list and 1, LOL, but Death Guard I can't. Does that mean you use my Dark Angels list and beat Death Guard? Because that should work. The Death Guard list I built beats, or the Dark Angel list I built beats Death Guard. Sean Pilled, how do I get to the Discord? Moving to Stavanger, so I'd love to pop down Oslo for a beer. Oh, cool, Stavanger. Yeah, I actually got some friends over in Stavanger. Let's see. If you're I can pop a link to the Discord. Guys, I do have a free section in the Discord, but all of the conversation takes place in the members. But I'll drop you guys a link where you can just join. And if you want to join as a member, you can join either as a YouTube member or on Coffee, which is my link down below where you can do like coaching services and stuff. It's like $5 a month, but you guys have access to everything. But I will drop the link to the free section, which we do talk in. It's just, it's much more quiet than the members portion of it. Let's see, invite hurt people. Oh, that was the wrong button. I want to create an invite. Edit invite, no limit, no expiration. Generate a new link. There we go. And let's see if I can do this. Oh, sorry. Boop. There you guys go. So that's the link to the Discord if you want to join, and we would love to have you, my guy. Sorry about the mirror thing. All right. All right, I think that's it. I love you all. Appreciate you for your attention this evening. This is how we're actually playing into the basically meta. Blood Angels are really good. You suck into the big three, but outside of that, you got good gameplay where you're either crushing or it's just a good even match. And that's an awesome freaking place to be. Yeah. Oh, we got one more question. All right, I'll do this last question. And then I'm going to run. If you were a Space Wolf player, how would you get around the fights first stuff with Blood Angels? Can't be done. So you better bring some freaking shooting so that you can shoot the fight first things. All right, gents. Or actually, that's not fair. All right, you could do the correct things. I've got an entire video on how to beat fights first. You could say charge in with a transport, force them to base, and then charge the other guys so that even though they fights first, you're minimizing the attacks into you because the guys who are already based by the transport will have to go to the transport. You could charge somewhere right next to the Blood Angels, then pile into them to get bypass fights first. There's a couple ways you can do it that way. So that's the more correct answer. But I love y'all. I hope y'all have a great freaking